everybody, welcome to my review of the SH Monsterarts Godzilla Minus One. Alrighty, so here is it outside of the box. And I've had it for about a couple days now, so I've already done some posing and such, but otherwise it's basically exactly how it came. So you can see here that it has some pretty good mobility, ball joints. These arms move. So, as you can see, the whole thing is basically made out of ball joints. They're fairly stiff, but it's not too much of a problem. This arm is much more stiff than this one. As you can see, it moves around much easier, though the wrists are also on ball joints. So that's good for if you want to do any posing or any kind of quick mobility with the hands. And the feet also come with ball joints, as you can see. Each one of these toes is connected with a ball joint as well. If you've seen any other review for SH Monsterarts, you know that they usually use ball joints. But let's get in a little bit more detail. For example, with the face, it's not exactly the clearest, but some figures I've heard have not exactly had the best eyes. But with my figure, at least, they look pretty good, honestly, all things considered. The paint is fantastic. I have zero complaints. And many people have complained about the paint job on the figure. They say it's not 100% accurate to the movie itself, but honestly, it's not huge in the long run. It gets the point across, which is fantastic. And if you've seen the movie, it's very accurate compared to what you usually see in the film. Also, the tongue you can move as well. It is also, if I'm not mistaken, connected by a ball joint. So if you want to just pose the tongue, you can do that, which is a lot of fun. Now, if we're looking at the thing from a side view, it looks beautiful. Honestly, it's very hefty, which is kind of something you want in a figure. But if you look in more, you can see the spikes are pretty intact. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is with all the models, but these spikes are a little loose. This fin, for example, unfortunately, which is kind of a quality control thing, this was off when I got my figure, which is a little unfortunate, but it's not too big of a deal. You just put it back in. It wasn't too hard to find, but it's still pretty wobbly. If you just put some glue on it, I bet it would be just fine. I just haven't had the time. But yeah. And if you go to the back of the figure, it looks great. They did such an amazing job with all of this. It's a very large tail, which as one review I've seen showed that this end point right there was not very favorable, but it's not exactly the worst. And if you can look through the rest of it, each one of these spikes is very well painted. I wish there was a little bit more texturing here on this side of the tail, because clearly, not texturing, but some maybe some more paint, give it a little bit more life, but it's one of those things that's very minor. Comparatively, like over here where you can see there's a lot of dry brush and other things that make it look very vibrant and very lively, like it's a real thing. And the tail itself is, well, that's bound to happen. Unfortunately, since I'm filming with one hand, it's a little hard to show, but this tail is very posable. It's a little stiff here in the thicker parts, but over here you can see a lot of potential for movement. This, around this area, it broke off a little bit, but it's easy fix. You just pop it back on. But, go to this side. That also, there's some very detailed paint in there. If you are very specific about gaps and such, this might not be the figure for you. If you're a real stickler for that stuff, but I guess that can be said about a lot of SH Monsterarts. But it's really not too noticeable, and it's one of those things that's very minor, so same right there. But even then, it allows for a lot more posability, which is unfortunate. I wish I had a phone stand to film this, but there's a lot of movement that can be done with that. So if you're someone who likes doing stop motion or enjoys doing likes posing your figures a lot, which I like posing mine in particular, like recreating scenes, etc., it's very helpful. But overall, this figure just doesn't have too many flaws in my opinion, but I'm not an expert, unfortunately, but this is a very amateur review. It's just one of those things that I felt like if you were planning on buying it, well, if you still have the chance, I highly suggest, because it's just a great figure and it just looks great when it's wherever. The big downside though will be the price, which is a little unfortunate, because it's a little sad when you use your hard-earned money to buy a big hunk of plastic. And this is one of the big ones in particular, because unfortunately it doesn't come with any props or any, effects. Like, it doesn't even come with the heat ray or anything like that, so it's just like the atomic breath. But which is very unfortunate, but for $145, which is how much I bought for it personally, it's a little uncomfortable. It's not one of those things that if you're wanting to save your money, I would not suggest buying this figure. But if you're a hardcore Godzilla fan, and if you're a big fan of the movie, then I would suggest you buy this figure. That is if you are financially stable. So, this is a rather short review, and this is the first video on my channel, so I just felt like this needed to get out there before people decided to buy it. And I know the lighting isn't fantastic, and nor is the scenery, but it's not too bad. And we're going to end off this review with a comparison. This is the Godzilla compared to the Zelda amiibo, compared to the holified Ichigo Funko Pop, compared to Kenpachi. And that will be the review. Apologize, it's not very professional, the lighting isn't great, and I just don't have a lot of the movement, but I could probably do a much more in-depth review if requested, but this is just kind of a fun thing I wanted to do. Wanted to get it out there for any good Godzilla fans. So, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more content. Thank you.